So let's watch the play one more time here. Bria Hartley going to her left, dribbling to the baseline, skip passing across the lane. But with that, she gets kind of tangled up. She falls down. She falls straight into Sophie's leg. And then Sophie grabs her shin area. She rolled her ankle again because, as we know, Sophie has rolled her ankle so many times this season. She has been battling little ankle injuries and she has played through all of them. But then I saw that she grabbed her shin. So I'm like, okay, did she hit her hard enough to actually fracture? She was on the ground. She was crying. She was yelling. It definitely seemed like she was in a ton of pain. The training staff went over to her. They went to commercial break. Like, it was a real injury. This wasn't something, and Sophie's the type of player, a lot of times when she does get injured, she just gets right back up.
Did Bria Hartley just end Sophie Cunningham's season on purpose? Or was it really just bad timing? The collision looked ugly, but the instant replay left fans in disbelief when Hartley smirked after impact. Was it disrespect or misread body language? And why did the league stay silent while debate exploded online? By the end of this breakdown, you'll see how Sophie herself responded and why this moment matters way beyond just one game. Everyone saw the play, but the question still hangs over it. What exactly happened in that split second that shredded Sophie Cunningham's MCL and flipped the narrative around Bria Hartley?
Sophie Cunningham went out in the first half. And that was such a huge blow for the Indiana Fever because Sophie Cunningham has been somebody, she has been the glue of this team since Caitlin has been out. So as you can see here, Bria Hartley is going baseline. Kelsey Mitchell is guarding her, and then Sophie comes over to help. And then Bria Hartley falls on her leg and Sophie immediately grabs like her shin area. She is playing so incredibly well during the second half of this season. She plays hard every single night. She's super tough. She doesn't make excuses. Like, she is somebody who has really held this team together.
On the surface, it looked like a routine drive to the basket. Hartley was charging in full speed, eyes straight ahead, and Sophie stepped into position. Then contact. Sophie collapsed immediately, clutching her knee, and the entire arena felt the shift. Nothing looked outrageous in real time, but the reaction online tells a completely different story. The play ended Cunningham's season right there, but what really stuck wasn't just the injury, it was Hartley's expression. As Sophie rolled on the floor in pain, Hartley cracked a smirk, and that one moment became the freeze frame everyone latched onto. Was it arrogance? Was it gallows humor at the chaos of the play? Or was it just split-second body language taken out of context? Nobody could really say, but fans weren't buying excuses once the clip hit social media. Before the night was even over, people were slowing down the video, pausing frame by frame. Some saw Hartley's elbow push out, others swore by the angle of her hips, suggesting she went out of control intentionally. Every replay sparked more debate. Was she reckless, dirty, or just unlucky? Arguments filled timelines, sports forums, and even made rounds in highlight shows that normally would have passed over a mid-season injury. This wasn't happening in a vacuum either. Hartley already had history. People brought up her prior ejections and tense clashes with opponents. That track record matters when you're building a reputation. When you see someone laugh after contact that leaves a player injured, and you already remember past incidents, the narrative gets darker in an instant. It's the power of perception. Fans started connecting dots, whether those dots were real or not. Adding fuel to it all, Sophie's sister Lindsay Cunningham exploded on social media. She ripped into officials, saying players weren't being protected and that the refs let dangerous plays go unchecked. Her post gave voice to the anger fans already felt, and it became less about just one hit and more about the system failing to protect its athletes. With families showing that level of frustration, it pushed the storyline further away from unfortunate accident and closer to avoidable disaster. But then came the reminders of everything else Hartley had been caught in before. The Angel Reese hair pull stayed fresh in people's minds. When you stack that on top of this knee injury to Cunningham, it paints the picture of consistency. A consistency that puts Hartley in the role of aggressor. Intent and accident blur the more times a name keeps coming up in these controversies. So now you had fans labeling her a dirty player while the officials kept silent. That silence only made people believe the league protects certain players while ignoring accountability. Every time the video resurfaced, the smirk took center stage. Maybe it was nerves, maybe it was misread energy, but when you carry previous baggage, people interpret it as arrogance, even celebration. By the end of that week, the event wasn't being talked about as one unfortunate collision. It was being seen as evidence of a pattern. The play, the smirk, the history, it all folded into a bigger case against Hartley. And here's where the whole story flips. You'd expect Sophie Cunningham, the player who lost her season to the collision, to lead that charge. Instead, she shocked everyone with what she did next. What if the player who lost her entire season was the exact same one who turned around and defended the person blamed for it? That's exactly what Sophie Cunningham did. Everybody expected a brutal response, especially since her sister was already blasting the league and firing back at officials. But Sophie opened her phone, typed out "F around and find out," and suddenly the narrative flipped. She wasn't crying foul, she wasn't begging for suspensions, she was putting herself in the middle of the storm and making her voice louder than anyone else's. Then she doubled down. On her own podcast, she addressed Hartley directly. Instead of calling her out, instead of fueling the storyline of Hartley being a dirty player with a smirk, Sophie went all the way the other direction. She called Hartley a friend. She said there was no bad blood and framed the whole incident as part of the game, part of the reality every player accepts when they step on the floor. That answer shocked people. Imagine scrolling and expecting a statement about revenge or accountability, but instead you hear pure respect. Fans who wanted her to seek justice didn't see it coming. And here's the contradiction. Sophie's family, Lindsay in particular, had already thrown the first punches online. They wanted accountability, stronger officiating, protection for players. That was the public conversation, but Sophie drew a dividing line between how she viewed Hartley as a competitor and friend and how she viewed the league's responsibility to prevent injuries. It wasn't one lump statement, it was two clear lanes. On one side, she gave Hartley grace. On the other, she demanded officials do more. By doing that, she kept both loyalty and leadership intact. Fans didn't like the mixed signals at first, but it made sense once you listened closer. This move gave Cunningham control over her own story. Instead of looking like the victim of a dirty opponent, she came off like the bigger voice in the room, the one making decisions rather than just being carried along. That's rare for an athlete who just saw their season erased. She didn't give in to emotional reactions or the easy narrative. She built her own version of events, and whether fans liked it or not, that carried more weight because it came from the player actually living it. But while everyone stayed caught up in words, the Fever put action on the floor. The same week that Sophie's season ended, Indiana pulled off the biggest comeback in their franchise history. Kelsey Mitchell lost her mind that night, pouring in 38 points with shot after shot falling the moment her team needed it. Odyssey Sims calmed things down through the chaos, handling the ball, running sets, refusing to let things spiral, and Aaliyah Boston looked like the anchor of a veteran, stacking up a double-double while guarding the paint. Every time the Mercury thought they could close it, Boston battled for rebounds and second chances. Think about that swing. The locker room loses a key piece in Cunningham, then immediately responds with one of their most unified performances ever. The pain of Sophie's injury became part of the energy that fueled this comeback. People expected the team to shrink without her. Instead, they turned into something new, something nobody saw coming, and it left the league shaking its head. So what looked like a week of outrage and turmoil shifted into one of resilience. Sophie kept Hartley close instead of pushing her away. The Fever turned heartbreak into a franchise-defining moment, and now the question hanging over all of it has nothing to do with whether Hartley wanted to hurt anyone. The real issue is staring at the league itself. Will they finally use incidents like this as a wake-up call to set real standards for officiating and stronger protection for players? Or will they keep leaving athletes and their families to fight the battle on their own? This whole situation wasn't just about Sophie's knee or Hartley's smirk. It exposed cracks in officiating, showed how quickly perception can shape a reputation, and revealed how athletes now control their own story in real time. One clip can transform everything. The fans, the media, even teammates react differently when silence comes from the refs. So what happens next? Does the league actually step in, creating stronger protection protocols, or does Hartley stay painted as the scapegoat for a bigger issue? Because the real question isn't about Hartley at all. It's about how the WNBA chooses accountability moving forward.